So yesterday we looked at basically we started looking at Hive, and there we just looked at how to create a database and how to create a dummy table on the files which are lying into SDFS. So let's look into detail what all we can do with Hive, and then so create table if not exists. We just yesterday looked at that command, and then I'll show you some other commands which are described over there. So show tables will show you all the tables inside the database. Show tables in MyDB will show the tables inside that database. Show tables like, so that will show you all the tables whose name is starting with DSI kind of thing. Describe table will give you the table definition, and describe extended will give you more table definition. So let's try to look at this describe definition. So shit, control C. You people are with me, right? You people are hearing up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'll just change to phone in a couple of minutes because that is always better for me.
Sure, sure. So I've switched on the database to design Pathshala from the default one, DP. Then if I say show tables, it will show me all the tables inside this database. So they are the tables I showed you yesterday, their folder structure. So if I say dscrib describe, let's say stocks partition, can you please put yourself on mute? Okay. So if I say describe table name, so it shows me the table description. These are the columns in the table. This table is partitioned by so and so column. And if I say describe, so extended will give me an extended information about the table, not only the columns but other details about the table like table name, database, owner of this table, creation time, last access, retention, storage, file schema, then your location where the data is lying for this table, input format. Now you know what is input format, right? So this is the input format class of Hadoop which will be used to read the data from this table. This is the output format class of Hadoop which will be used to write the data to this table. Then a lot of other informations which are basically associated to this table. So describe and describe extended basically gives you information and detailed information about the table. You can also run a command like show create table and the table name. So that will this will give you the information how this table was created, and you can direct SHOWCREATTABLE table. This will give you the information about how the table can be created. So there's a create table command which was used to create this table. You can copy paste and then recreate this table, or you can change it, those kind of things. Similar to MySQL. Then so basically there are two kind of tables. One is your external tables and one is your internal tables in Hive. So yesterday I told you this use the keyword external in the table which I've created. So what is external? I told you. I'll explain you. So basically, internal tables and external tables, both tables are managed by Hive. The only difference between internal and an external table, or or managed tables and external table. So internal tables or managed tables are interchangeable words. So the difference between internal and external table is that if you drop an internal table, Hive also drops the data associated to the table, that is the data lying into HDFS. However, when you drop an external table, as the table is external, data is not managed by Hive. And in such a scenario, when you drop an external table, the data is not deleted from your HDFS. So the only and only difference between internal and external table is when you drop the table, external table data is not deleted, internal table is deleted by the Hive. So for internal table, you normally do not define the location where the data is lying, and the new folder will be created when you create an internal table inside the directory of your database directory. However, an external table can be pointing to any directory into a HDFS. That is, there is no mandate that the directory should be lying into the database directory. That directory could be lying anywhere in HDFS. So whenever you create an external table, you have to define the location where your data is lying in HDFS. So I told you the default location of warehouse directory yesterday. That's apps hive warehouse slash apps slash hive slash warehouse. So I just told you what is the difference between internal and external table. So this is what I am stating over here. Does not delete the data, only drops the metadata. So here we are explicitly giving a keyword called create external table. If you do not give this keyword, by default the table is an internal table. And in such a scenario, if you drop that table, the data associated to the table lying into SDFS will be deleted. And when you are creating an external table by giving this keyword external, you have to define the location where your data is lying up, and the data in this directory will be treated as a data for this table. So yesterday we created an external table on a copper separated file, if you remember. There we gave the location, and that's how the location in SDFS is associated to a metadata of a table. And when you create an internal table, a new directory will be created by Hive into the warehouse directory. And you can populate the table with insert into command of the table like you do for any other table. So there are other commands like how you can create the table. So I can just create a table like this table, and the data for that table is lying in this location. So I can create just by giving the like command. Okay, before partition, let me show you those tables and then we'll come to the partition part. So
Quick question, Miraj.
yeah,
So the if you don't say internal or external, is it what is the default value?
internal.
Okay. So what is the location difference between internal and external table if you give it? Because in internal also you're giving the location, right? Yes.
So you can give it, but if you don't give it,
If you don't give.
the default location is slash f slash hive slash warehouse. That is the warehouse configuration into your hive. So you can change that configuration. Set warehouse
Okay.
location. There's some property. The property is hive minus c set. So this is a property which you can change up to define your warehouse directory. What is a warehouse directory? By default, this apps hive warehouse is a directory which I was saying you. Okay. So let's say I create another table which is similar to this table. So I'm creating another table which is an internal table like stocks. So this is the table which is created. So there is a directory called stocks internal which will be created into HDFS. So if you look at HDFS, oh yeah, apps, hive, warehouse. This is not, so here I know I've not created my database over here. I've created my database at user UDP. So this is the नहीं यार database कहाँ पड़ा हुआ है? So user UDP hive db.db. So stocks internal is the directory, and if we insert some data, so let's insert some data into this table. Insert over right stocks internal, select star from mm, stocks. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting some data from the stocks table and I'm inserting into the stocks internal table. So I'm doing nothing great. I'm just selecting the data from some another table and inserting into this new table which I've created called stocks internal. So override is a keyword which I've used over here, which says if the data, some data is lying into this table, that all data will be overwritten by this new data. If I've used insert into table, then that new data would be appended to the current table data. However, I've used the word is override, that will override the already existing data in this table by the new data. So we can use both the keywords insert override or insert into. I've used a keyword called override because this was a new table I've created. So anyhow, there is no data. So once this table is created, we'll look at the data inside this folder and then we'll drop this table.
Raj, where is the override statement?
Here it is.
Okay. Insert override table.
Okay.
One more thing, can we give some specific where clause also for having or
हाँ
something like
बिल्कुल
that?
बिल्कुल हाँ बिल्कुल सब कुछ कर सकते हो.
Also,
We will do all those things now. So stocks internal. So there's a data, small very small file. So there's a data which was copied from the yesterday's stock table which we looked at. So from that table we have copied the data into this table also. So the oh, sorry. अबे यार.
extend spelling.
Yeah. क्या हो गया? अबे यार EX. So you can see this is a table which is there. We have the data. Now let's drop table. Okay, so the directory is gone. You can see. However, if I create an external table, the directory would not be deleted. So stocks was an external table if I am not wrong. Create external table. So I'll drop this table stocks. So I've dropped the table stocks, but you can see the directory would be there, stocks. Okay, so I'll just recreate this table. So the table is recreated, and I have not inserted any data. That's again pointing the same old directory stocks. It will have the data. अबे ये क्या हुआ? ये नल कैसे हो गए? Oh, this data was partitioned थी क्या? Trade date, location. कुछ एक्स्ट्रा कॉलम नहीं दिखाना गए? How many columns are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Oh shit! I have not given the delimiter. So see, I have not given the delimiter as comma. So it has taken everything in the first column and rest all columns became null. Stocks or stock? STOCK stocks. So we'll recreate the table. So we have not given these two lines, fields terminated by comma, and that's the reason it has taken all the rows in at the first column and rest all other columns became null. क्या हुआ? क्या गड़बड़ दी मैंने? The data is there. So what I wanted to show you is if you drop an external table, data is not deleted. Okay. So partitioning. Partitioning basically, like Shekhar gave an example yesterday. If the data is coming daily, what need to be done up, and similarly, similar to MySQL or any other relational thing. Also, here's also you can do partitioning of the data. So by partitioning, what happens up is your data of similar category for a particular table lies in a particular directory. So here this table employees is partitioned on country. So all the employees of Canada will go inside a directory called countries equals to Canada inside employees table directory. And all the records of employees of countries equals to US would go to a directory called countries equals to US. However, so in this table we have given two level of partitioning, that is country level partitioning, and inside country there is a state level partitioning. So inside Canada there are another 510 state, another directories each for state in Canada. And similarly for US there are directories inside US for each state of US. So the folder structure is something like this for this table. There is a folder called employees. Inside employees, there are folders for each and every country. And inside each and every country, there are folders for the corresponding states of that country. So all the data for state AB of Canada will go inside this directory. So when I'll run a query on my table, select XYZ from employees, where the country is equals to US and state is equals to Alaska, I will directly go to this directory and start looking at the files lying in this directory. So rather than looking at petabytes of file which is lying in my employees table, my query is just looking at few GBs of file which are lying in this directory called Alaska. So that makes my queries run extremely fast. So whenever you are putting or dumping your data into SDFS, you will normally love to partition your data so that your queries run fast. And what is a partitioning criteria, or on which column you should be partitioning up, that will totally depend on you based on the queries which you will be running on the table. In most of the scenarios, you would require to partition at least one level partition of your data based on date, because your data would be getting into your SDFS daily. In such a scenario, you will love to partition your data based on dates. So your partition would be something like year equals to so and so, month equals to so and days equals to so and so. So whenever you have to just query the last year data, you will just say year is equals to 2015, and that will query all your last year data. Or else you have to, if you have to query year and last 3 months data, you will just say year is equals to this and month is equals to so and so. You will just query the last 3 months data. So that reduces the amount of data which you would be looking at, and partitioning is extremely useful feature in Hive. So let's see.
Virat,
Yeah,
in this table, we have not taken country as a column.
yeah, that's a pretty good point you have
It's
raised
in
up. So
partitioning.
yeah, so in
Country is left
partitioning
here.
in Hive, you give the data on which column need to partition up, and those are not considered as column, or basically those do not come in the create table statement as a column. They will be coming as in the partition by clause only. And when you look at the
Whereas
data,
in the address,
and when you will look at the data, there will be practically no data related to country and state in the file. So it's always assumed that the file lying in this state directory will contain the data of this state only. If you by mistake place the data of some other state in this state directory, that's your fault. I will just consider that as the data for this state and will read it for you. And there will be no information about the state in the files lying in this directory. So that saves your space of the data which you are putting up, because this is a repeated information in the data. So if say are 200 files of 15 GB, you are unnecessarily putting in each row country is equals to this and state is equals to this.
address we are using state, right?
Sorry.
In address, we are
Mhm.
using state.
In address we are using straight. We should not be. Well, address contain nested है, but that is not exactly a column. So that is in the address nested into address, but that exactly not a column. So basically there will not be column on which you are partitioned by. That will be returned as a column when you do a select, but in the create table statement that will not be a column. So if I'll show you an example, just wait. So cat. So what we are doing is we are creating a table called stocks partition, which is partitioned on date. So you remember the data which I just shown you. So there's a data for each and every date. 2014 01 का है, 2014 01 2 का है, 10th का है, 9th का है, 8th का है, 6th का है, 4th का है, 1st का है, for different stocks. So we'll try to create a new table which is partitioned based on date, and we'll populate this table. So I've created a table called stocks partition, and we'll try to populate this table. So what we'll do is we'll just select from this stocks table only and we'll try to populate this table. So what I'm doing right now, don't worry about this thing, I'll just explain you. So I've just what I did is I'm inserting into stocks partition and selecting from a stocks table. And here I'm defining on which column my data will be partitioned up. Because I'm selecting 7 columns from this table, but this table requires only 6 columns and one is a partition column. So I'm telling that the trade date the column which is coming from this stocks table, that is the same column on which I want to partition this table. So because this table is a partitionable clause. So there will be a new folder created for each trade date inside this directory called stocks partition, and inside that each and every date column there will be data for that corresponding date, and in the data exact data of this stock partition there will be no date column. We'll just look at the directory. So this is how you will be partitioning your data also. So you will be getting a dump of your data, but you have to partition, let's say, country on something like this on your data. So you this is how you will be doing up. Basically, you will be exposing that data as a table, and then you would be then basically you would be running queries like this, selecting from that raw table and inserting into a partition table, and that will automatically segregate your data into individual partitions, and that's where you will be futurely and then basically you'll be dropping this table and you'll be using this new table. So if you look at this folder structure of this stocks partition table, so stock partitioned, so see, each and every trade date column is here, sorry, directory is there, and inside those directories you will see data files, and if I open this file, you won't see the date, you will just see the values corresponding to dates. अगर उस original file में मैं देखूंगा stocks वाली में, so you will see date भी थी last में stocks के अंदर, यहाँ पे date भी थी. बट यहाँ पे जब मैंने इसी टेबल में इंसर्ट ओवर किया पार्टीशन वाली में, फोल्डर्स बन गए हर डेट के एंड डेटा में से डेट गायब हो गई. So that's the reason that does not come as a column. The data lying in a partition, corresponding partition, it's assumed to be of that column of that partition value only. And when I do a select from this table, you will see the data will also come up. Select star from stocks partitioned where डेट क्या नाम है कॉलम का, ट्रेड डेट इज इक्वल्स टू see date is coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you able to get why exactly we are using partition? Because partitioning basically reduces your data sizes on which you query up. So when I run a query on this table for last 5 days, let's say I have to figure out the stock which has traded most in last 1 month, I have to just query uh, last last month's data only, rather than querying the whole historical data which might be of petabytes or terabytes kind of thing. So by default, what happens up is so these are few parameters of high volley. So by default, what happens up is uh, if you basically run a query on a table which is partitioned and you do not give in the where clause the partition by column, Hive will throw you an error. So to enable querying on a table without giving where in the where clause the partitioned column, you can query the table also, but for that you have to set a parameter and make it to non-strict. Otherwise by default this is strict mode, and in such a scenario Hive उस table पे query करने देगा बट विदाउट वेयर क्लॉज पे नहीं करने देगा. यू हैव टू स्पेसिफिकली गिव वेयर क्लॉज ऑन अ पार्टीशन बाय कॉलम. सो यहाँ पे अगर मैंने जो वेयर चलाया था इसमें पार्टीशन बाय कॉलम हटा दूंगा तो इट विल थ्रो मी एन एरर. अगर मैंने पार्टीशन मोड अभी ऊपर स्ट्रिक को डिसेबल तो नहीं करा था ना शायद. अच्छा डेटा स्ट्रिक को डिसेबल कर दिया था मैंने. सो बाय डिफॉल्ट ये स्ट्रिक होता है. आई थिंक उसको मैंने नॉन स्टिक कर दिया था. नॉन स्टिक कर दिया था मैंने यहाँ पे. सो बाय डिफॉल्ट स्ट्रिक्ट होता है वो. So by default it's strict. This is the default value of this mode. So if I run where symbol is equals to l, क्या दे दिया मैंने. Oh, why it did not give me an error? Let us start from this where symbol. It did not give me an error. Oh, I have set it another parameter.
नहीं हुआ.
Sorry, नहीं 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 वो मैंने पैरामीटर अलग सेट कर दिया डायनेमिक पार्टीशनिंग मोड. I what is that? hive.mapred.mode. hive.map red non-strict.
तो ये सबके लिए हो जाता है.
नहीं इस सेशन के लिए हो.
Particular
इस सेशन के
table
लिए.
भी रख सकते हैं. अच्छा.
So it wants the table which is partitioned has to give where clause में we have to give the partition where clause. Basically we have to basically query on some partition only. So this is by default enabled. You have to disable it.
Miraj, I have a question. What were you trying to do after you queried the partition data? That part, till that part I was there with you, but so you are saying that what is the last statement or
So what I'm
last?
saying is this: if you query a table which is partitioned by on some particular column, and if you query that table, and in the where clause you do not give the partition by column, where partition by column जो भी है आपका उस पे आप कोई कंडीशन नहीं देते हो तो Hive आपको एरर देगा because your table is partitioned by you have to put a filter on a partition by column so that Hive just look onto the particular directory inside that table directory only. कुछ छोटे sample data कुछ छोटे data पे ही query चले. So by default that mode is strict. You have to disable that mode to non-stick to run a query on a table without giving where clause on the partition by column. So that's what I'm doing. मैंने इस variable की query चलाई जो कि partition थी and मैंने where clause trade date पे नहीं लगाया तो उसने मुझे error मार दिया. So मेरे को केवल सिंबल पे where clause चलाना है तो मुझे इस मोड को नॉन स्टिक करना पड़ेगा. That is what I was trying to do.
So if you run that command non-strict, that means it will look for data matching that condition in all the partition.
Yes.
No?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So it will go to all those 10 columns of the date and will look for the data inside the symbol inside this stocks partition data.
Okay. So as Prabhajit asked, basically it will be for this user session. You will once you run it, it will stay for that user session. So in the same user session, if you have to come back to strict again on the partition, do you have a command to do that?
Again, you have to do set it in your session, or you can set it into your global hive.xml and from the Ambari configuration. So when your Hive starts up, that is by default enabled for all the sessions.
Okay.
Okay. So show partitions is a command which will show you all the partitions in the table. So show PRTITIONS partitions. It shows you there are 10 partitions in this table, each date. So you can have nested partitions, a partition inside partition. So country can the state के partitions हैं. So I could have partitioned this data not only on date, again on inside date, I could have partitioned it on symbol also. So that will be inside each date, there will be partition for each and every symbol. And I can look at the partition just inside a particular partition. So I can give show partitions, employee partition, countries equals US. So वो केवल US के अंदर की states के partition में दिखाएगा. So it will show you something like this. So by default जो partition का folder बनता है ना, वो इस तरह से बनता है. Partition के column का name is equals to partition की column की value. You can change the folder name to your desired way. You can just keep it date also, but that will create you very a lot of troubles while running your queries, because by default Hive is format में इसको expect करता है. तो normal queries तो you will be able to run up, but you will face lot of issues while running your particular queries, and in each and every query you have to do some tweaking. So I would suggest you, when you are running your production clusters, do not change the column names to just the values. Keep it like this only. Column name equals to value. So this is a folder name. So keep it the default format only. So that will be easier for you to run the queries. Okay, so partitioning external table. I've just shown you an example how to partition external table. Practically, you won't be, creating folder manually and putting or dumping in the data manually into that folder. You would be creating a table on your raw data. You will be inserting your partition table from the raw data, and I will do the task for you. Like we inserted the data into stocks partition table. So we can add the partitions something like this. Alter table, add partition to this table, and the location of that partition in your SDFS.
Can you repeat, please,
Sorry.
the last slide? Can you please repeat the last slide?
So what I'm showing is this is how you can add the partition to a given table. मैंने एक table बना दी, उसके अंदर कोई नया partition add करना है. So you can just say alter table, table name, add partition, partition value. So year equals to this is the part. So this table is partitioned on year, month, and day. So what I'm saying is adding partition year is equals to this, month is equals to this, and day is equals to this, and the location of that partition.
So it will remove year, month, day from the file and create the directories, right?
नहीं 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 नहीं, ये ऐड पार्टीशन कर रहा हूँ तो यहाँ पे ये डायरेक्टरी एसडीएफएस में होगी, एंड इस डायरेक्टरी के अंदर का जो डेटा है /01/02 के अंदर का जो डेटा है वो विल बी एसोसिएटेड टू दिस पार्टीशन ऑफ दिस टेबल.
अच्छा अच्छा, पार्टीशन ऊपर ऑलरेडी है, हमने उस पे एक ऐड पार्टीशन किया है.
पार्टीशन नहीं है, टेबल पार्टीशन है. तो टेबल पार्टीशन है मतलब टेबल के अंदर एक टेबल है, स्टॉक्स की टेबल हमने बनाई थी, वो पार्टीशन थी ट्रेड डेट पे. सो वो टेबल के अंदर 10 फोल्डर थे, 01 से 2014 जनवरी 01 से लेकर 2014 जनवरी 10 तक. अब जब 2014 जनवरी 11 का डेटा आएगा तो मुझे फिर से उसमें ऐड करना पड़ेगा डेटा को. तो आई जस्ट टू इंसर्ट इनटू, एंड दैट विल create one more directory inside the table 2014 जनवरी 11. So you can do it that way, or you can create directory yourself, and you can add the directory, add the metadata in the table, so that the directory associated to the partition in your table, and this is how you can associate that directory as a metadata to your table.
Okay.
Getting it? Getting it? No.
Yes, yes. I got the point.
Alright. So basically हमारे टेबल के अंदर कई सारे फोल्डर्स होंगे. हर फोल्डर में एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप का डेटा होगा. वो पर्टिकुलर टाइप इन दिस पर्टिकुलर टेबल इज ईयर, मंथ एंड डे है. सो इस डे के कॉलम में उस डे का ही डेटा होगा. अब वो डे का कॉलम कहाँ पड़ा है, इज नॉट वरीड अबाउट दिस। हाइव के मेटा डेटा में ये होना चाहिए कि उस डे का डेटा कहाँ पड़ा हुआ है। Hive, whenever you will query for that particular day, Hive will look into that folder. And if you do not give the where clause for your day, Hive will look at all the folders inside your table directory and will return you the data. Got it?
But Miraj, what would be the difference in the second alter? Say basically, I'm with you till the point that you said 10 partition will be created for each trade date, right? What is this command doing different? Alter table log message, add partition year,
अब मुझे
month
क्या,
and day.
so now I have to add one, I have to add the data for the 11th of January in this table. What can I do?
दो वेज हैं, या तो दोबारा से नई फाइल बना के create वाला कमांड चलाएं, otherwise we can use this alter command to add that data in the
So Anna,
existing
the
table.
second way is I can just create a directory over here, new directory, trad trade trad dat is equals to 2014 hyphen 01 hyphen 11 and just say submit. अब देखो मैंने 11 तारीख की डायरेक्टरी बना दी and let's put some data into this file. So I'll just move this file, move it to uh, user dp hive stocks partition 11। तो मैंने एक 10 के डेटा से एक फाइल उठा के 11 में डाल दी, तो वो डेटा 11 में पहुंच गया, वो दैट विल बी कंसीडर्ड 11 तारीख का डेटा। नाउ लेट्स लुक एट द स्टॉक पार्टीशन टेबल। शो PRTITIONS पार्टीशंस स्टॉक पार्टीशन। इसके मेटा डेटा में 11 का डेटा नहीं है, तो 11 का डेटा ऑल द फोल्डर पड़ा हुआ है, उसके अंदर फाइल पड़ी हुई है, ये यहाँ पे नहीं दिखाएगा। नाउ इफ आई से select star from this where trade date is equals to this 11, there is nothing because that partition is not yet added to the table. टेबल के मेटाडेटा में पार्टीशन पहुंचा ही नहीं है। मैंने टेबल फोल्डर बना के रख दिया, मैनुअली खुद ने बना दिया, बट अभी भी वो हाइव के मेटाडेटा में नहीं पहुंचा। हाइव के मेटाडेटा में तभी पहुंचेगा जब मैं हाइव को बताऊंगा। एंड दिस इज व्हाट दिस कमांड इज डूइंग। गॉट इट? अगर मैं इंसर्ट इनटू स्टॉक्स पार्टीशन बाय, जैसे मैंने पहले करा था, कहाँ गया वो, कहाँ चली गई कमांड, विल राइट इट। पार्टीशन, व्हाट इज दैट? पार्टीशन लिखते हैं, क्या लिखते हैं? पार्टीशन वेयर trade date is equals to, oops. So what I'm doing is मैं इसके 10 तारीख का डेटा स्टॉक पार्टीशन में आई एम एक्सप्लिसिटली सेइंग कि दैट शुड बी एसोसिएटेड टू अ डेटा ऑफ 12 की तारीख। 12 तारीख पे इस 10 तारीख का डेटा उठा के मैं इसके 12 मैं एम सेइंग कि इसको इस शुड बी एसोसिएटेड टू अ पार्टीशन कॉल्ड 12 की तारीख इन योर पार्टीशन डेट। सो नाउ क्या हुआ, इंसर्ट इनटू, Okay, now I have to explicitly select the columns because I'm hard coded this trade date over here. And explicitly select the columns. Symbol. I'll just copy them. I'll just copy them. Replace की क्या command होती है? Find, replace. Shit, दो तो भाग के तब जाता है. So I'm just selecting 6
ठीक है,
columns
मैं
now.
कॉन्सेप्ट समझ गया.
ठीक है ना? So
हाँ, मैं
now,
मेरा कॉन्सेप्ट समझ
now
गया.
it will show you the 12th data on this table. However, it will not still not show the 11th data. और इसमें एक 12th data का folder भी बन जाएगा. So to add that thing, you have to run this command. There's another way to add that thing. I'll just show you that thing also, how to run it without giving it. So there's one more way to add that without giving that command. I'll just show you when this query will run. Okay. So partition external table, describe external, we have already seen it. Serialization on, so Saturday and desaturday will be used basically to serialize your data or deserialize your data into the corresponding format. So let's say you are having sequence files and you have to read sequence files. So there you have to just define what is the input file format you have to use and what is the output file format you have to use. So here I'm saying sequence input file format and sequence output file format. And that will read the data from your sequence files and write the data as a sequence files only. So this is so all you have to do is you have to just tell input file format and output file format stored as करके and nothing else, everything I will take care for you. So आपको just Hadoop को बताना है कि मेरा input format क्या होगा, output format class कौन सी use करनी है, and a table will be created on your sequence file and any data inserted into this table would be written as a sequence file only. So ये चल गया. So that folder भी यहाँ पे बन गया होगा. 12 तारीख का फोल्डर बन गया. अब 12 तारीख का ही दिखाएगा. If I say show partitions, it will show you the 12 तारीख का. 11 का भी दिखाया. So another way to add that partition is mscrepair table. ये बार बार डबल क्लिक क्यों हो रहा है यार? mscrepair table. So see, इसने एक मिसिंग फोल्डर देखा उस टेबल के अंदर एंड उसको एज अ पार्टीशन ऐड कर दिया. So this is another way to repair a table rather than add partition. So if I say show partitions, it will show you the 11th partition also. अब वो 11th की where clause भी चलेगा. So these are the two ways to add a partition. You can explicitly add it or you can repair the table by that add partition command. You can use for Avro files. You have looked at Avro files if you remember in the file format class. So all you have to do now is just give it as stored as. Rest all it will take care. यहाँ पे हमें सरडे भी बताना पड़ेगा कि उसके स्कीमा से यहाँ पे कौन. I'll show you with the JSON that will make you more easier. So let me show you with the JSON. Well, let's get. Is there any JSON? Yeah, 9th one. So Let's first look at this JSON file. So this is a JSON file. Let's look at this JSON file. So see, this is the JSON file. इसके अंदर field 1 है, field 2 है, field 3 है, and field 4 है. So this is a simple, pretty normal JSON file. So what we'll do is we'll create a table on this JSON file. What I'm saying is create external table, if not like this, my table name. These are the 4 fields, and I've just given a JSON Saturday. So I've added the JSON jar, Saturday jar, and I've given that thing. So it will read the JSON data for me. Select star from my table. डबल क्लिक क्या हो रहा है यार, वो डेटा आ गया मेरे पास, जो डेटा मैं यहाँ पे निकाला. So this is what your serialization and deserialization is used for, and input formats and output formats. Make sense? I've just tell him कि मेरा Saturday क्या use करना है, JSON Saturday use करना है, and JSON Saturday is jar directory में है, which is Hive JSON. So I've added that thing to the class path of this Hive console. Add jar and jar name. Drop table, you drop your table. Alter table, table name, change columns. I'm changing the column names over here, and I can also change the column data type. So I've changed the column name HMS to hours, minutes, and seconds, and it's an integer type column. So here, if I'm changing the column data type, I will not give you any error. It's your responsibility to ensure that the data type of that column, if it's changed to some other data type, all the data associated to that column has also to be changed in the corresponding files in HDFS. If you don't change it, I will not give you any error. You will not get the data when you do a select. Rename all existing columns and creating new columns associated with them. So replace columns, and these are the new columns of the table. You can alter the table like this also. Now I can change the, okay, so this is useful, pretty useful thing. Alter table, I am changing the file format class. So let's say मेरा एक टेबल पड़ा हुआ है, टेबल के अंदर डेटा पड़ा हुआ है, लेकिन सेलेक्ट बड़ा स्लो चल रहा है. मुझे अपनी फाइल फॉर्मेट चेंज करके देखनी है, या मुझे कंप्रेशन कुछ चेंज करके देखना है फाइल के अंदर. So what I'll do is I will, this is a जुगाड़ which we normally do up. So what we do is we will just change the output format to the sequence file, and will remain the input format to the text format only. So let's say I have a table or a table which has text files, but my table is running slow. I want to change it to sequence file and then try it out whether that makes help for me to so that my select query runs faster. So what I'll do is I'll just alter the table, change the output format to the sequence file, and let remain the input format as a text file. And then what I'll do is I'll just run a query called select star from my table, whatsoever table is, and I'll use that select to insert override my current table. So in such a scenario, what will happen is I'm reading as a text file and inserting on the same table, and that new files will be created as sequence file. And once that insert override runs up, I'll alter the table again and will change the input file format also to a sequence file. So I can easily change the data type of the data in the table. So this is what we do in the production clusters. Got my point? What I'm saying?
नहीं मेरा समझ नहीं आया.
सपोज मेरे टेबल है जिसमें टेक्स्ट फाइल्स पड़ी हुई है, लेकिन मेरा सेलेक्ट क्वेरीज जैसे टेक्स्ट फाइल्स पे स्लो चल रही है, मुझे ओआरसी में कन्वर्ट करना है. दैट माइट मेक माय सेलेक्ट क्वेरीज फास्ट. ओआरसी तो याद है ना क्या था? ORC file format which keeps your data in the columnar format, and that also contains the index with the data.
याद है. वो
Yeah.
फास्ट मतलब डिफरेंट फॉर्मेट बताया था आपने जिसके
हाँ.
साथ वो कॉलम लगा
कॉलम के जरूरत, तुम कॉलम्स में सेलेक्ट करूंगा तो फास्ट चलेगा, बताया था मैंने उसे, याद हो तो, राइट. सो लेट्स से मेरा टेक्स्ट फॉर्मेट पड़ा हुआ है, मुझे ORC में कन्वर्ट करना है, एंड दैट माइट that might increase the performance of my select queries. तो मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं अल्टर टेबल चलाऊंगा जैसे यहाँ पे बता रहा हूं मैं, and I will just change the input format and output. I will just change the output format. Input format को मैं text ही रखूंगा. So मैं इसको सब कुछ इस तरह से लिखूंगा, alter table. Exact command क्या है, alter table, whatever your table name, and set text only, output format, let's say ORC. ठीक है. And what I'll do is insert over right table. Let's say table का नाम था ABC, ABC select star from ABC. ये क्या करेगा, इसी टेबल में डेटा पढ़ेगा और इसी टेबल को ओवरराइट कर देगा, और जब ओवरराइट करेगा वो क्रिएट करेगा ORC फाइल फॉर्मेट. उसके बाद में मैं क्या करूंगा, फिर से सब मेरी टेबल ORC में हो गई. And I can read the data from this table. So I can quickly change the data types of the table by running these three commands. And can test out what is the best file format, what is the best compression suits me. Similarly, I can do for compression also. So this is what I was saying. Got it? आया नहीं आया?
आपने सेम टेबल को ही ऑल्टर कर दिया, राइट?
Yes.
तो अभी इसके बाद जो भी आप क्वेरी करोगे,
इससे पहले जो मैंने बनाया था, this was my create statement was create table ABC file text. ये मेरी,
तो क्रिएट में हमने OR क्यों नहीं दिया था?
मैं तो बता रहा हूँ यार, मेरी कोई फाइल फॉर्मेट थी जो टेक्स्ट में थी. अब मुझे 1-2 महीने बाद लगा कि टेबल की सेलेक्ट क्वेरी बहुत स्लो चल रही है, मुझे कुछ और करके देखना है. सो दिस इज अ क्विक जुगाड़ फॉर मी.
ओके.
ठीक है, गॉट इट.
Got it. Miraj, can you go to that PPT command? I just wanted to understand वो parameter कैसे set कर रहे हो month year date का. इससे पहले एक था ना शायद.
अरे वो तो बहुत पहले गई. या
नहीं इससे just एक जो तुमने month year date set किया था ना.
ये वाला ना.
हाँ इसमें ये जो alter table log message add partition year month and date, इसका ये कैसे सेट कर सकते हैं? मतलब बेसिकली जो तुमने एग्जांपल दिया था 11th और 12th जनवरी का, तो उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हाउ डू यू ऑल्टर दिस मैसेज? सो रोज टेबल आएगी तो रोज का ऐसे अलग अलग डेट डालना पड़ेगा क्या?
यस, या फिर MSC के रिपेयर कर दो. मैं दूसरा जुगाड़ बता ना, MSC के रिपेयर. यू कैन डू MSC के रिपेयर.
ठीक है.
That will automatically look for any new partition in that table directory and will add that as a partition metadata to the hive.
ठीक है. तो वो जो एक्सेल में है दैट इज जस्ट एन एग्जांपल डेट, बट हमारे एग्जांपल पे अगर हम ये किए होते तो बेसिकली हमारा 2014 मंथ 1 एंड डे वाज 11 या 12.
वहां पे हमारे एक ही पार्टीशन ना, ट्रेड डेट था.
Right?
हमारे ईयर मंथ डे नहीं था, हमने ट्रेड डेट एक लेवल की पार्टीशन, हमारा नेस्टेड नहीं था. तो यहाँ पे मैं लिखता ट्रेड डेट, ट्रेड डेट is equals to your date, is equals
Okay.
to your
Yeah,
date.
that's correct.
ठीक है, और यहाँ पे फोल्डर, फोल्डर का नाम.
Yeah, I got it.
rename the table. You can just rename the table like this. So this is what I was saying. You set file format to sequence files and all those things. So you can change the सारे properties. अगर मेरे को JSON की suppose JSON की field 1 को map करना है, so यहाँ पे field 1 data 1 था. So but मेरे को field 1 को map करना है मेरे column के field 2 से. So this is how you can do it. Property value, property value. You can just change the certain properties. Clustered by, a pretty interesting thing. So let's talk about clustered by bucketing. What is bucketing? So you understand what is bucketing in terms of MapReduce, oh sorry, MySQL or Oracle kind of thing. You know what is bucketing?
No, not really. I don't understand.
Okay. Let me open an Excel sheet. Okay. So let's say I have two tables, employee, or let's say employee छोड़ दे, trade, and let's say डिविडेंड. ठीक है. ट्रेड का डेटा मेरे पास रोज आता है एंड ट्रेड का डेटा वुड बी रोज जो आएगा वो जीबीज में होगा. लेट्स से 100 जीबी काइंड ऑफ थिंग ईच डे. एग्रीड. किसी भी बैंक का ट्रेड डेटा होगा would be in GBs and that 200 GB or 200 GB kind of thing. So let's say this trade is partitioned on day. So partition on day, year के अंदर कॉलम्स होंगे 2014, 2015, 2016 एंड ईयर के अंदर पार्टीशनिंग होगी लेट्स से नेस्टेड पार्टीशनिंग को मंथ के अंदर होंगे 01, 02, 03 एंड सो ऑन. एंड इसके अंदर होगा डे के अंदर होगा 01, 02 एंड सो ऑन टिल 31. ठीक है.
Okay.
ओके. एंड डिविडेंड का जो डेटा होगा वो साल में एक ही बार दिया जाता है, साल में 2 बार दिया जाता है. So you can think of partitioning it or you might not partition the dividend data. ठीक है. So let's say dividend का data is not partitioned up and let's say dividend data is that might not be more than few GBs. Let's say 5 GB, 10 GB kind of thing. Total data. Dividend trade is each day 200 GB data. डिविडेंड इज जस्ट जैसे 10 GB डेटा. इससे ज्यादा नहीं होगा, साल में एक बार दिया जाता है मुश्किल से, वो भी सब स्टॉक्स में नहीं दिया जाता. नाउ आई हैव क्वेरीज विच रन फ्रिक्वेंटली ऑन डिविडेंड एंड ट्रेड पे वेयर क्लॉज पे चलती हैं सेम सिंबल पे. सो बोथ ऑफ द टेबल्स विल हैव वन कॉलम दैट इज स्टॉक. ठीक है. एक कॉलम हो, कॉमन कॉलम होगा दोनों टेबल में. दोनों टेबल्स में एक वेयर क्लॉज जरूर लगता होगा जब भी मैं चलाऊंगा कुछ भी. वेयर ट्रेड डॉट स्टॉक इज इक्वल्स टू डिविडेंड डॉट स्टॉक, वो हमेशा चलता होगा. तो मेरा वेयर क्लॉज हमेशा रहता है इन दो टेबल्स के बीच में. So now I have to run that where clause pretty fast. So although I can give a query where trade date year is equals to 2016, month is equals to 01 and day is equals to day is equals to 01, but still my queries will not be that much faster because मेरे को 200 GB का डेटा यहाँ से ट्रेड से हर बार 10 GB के डेटा से मर्ज करना पड़ेगा और मुझे हर रो के लिए एक ऑलमोस्ट एक लूप चलाना पड़ेगा 10 GB पे. So to make those queries faster, what we do is we use a concept called bucketing. So what we do is we bucket our data on a particular criteria or what I can say is on a particular column, and we just merge and marry those buckets in the where clause. So what will happen is, let's say both the tables are bucketed on this stocks because stocks is a common joining criteria of these two tables. तो हम क्या करेंगे, दोनों टेबल्स को स्टॉक पे बकेट कर देंगे. सो सच सिनेरियो क्या होगा, So in such a scenario, what will happen is there will be, let's say I bucketed both the tables on 32 buckets on stock. तो क्या होगा, सेम हैश की का कॉन्सेप्ट आएगा. There will be 32 files created, file 1, file 2, file 3 and so on till file 32. So let's say 32 bucket कर दिया मैंने दो टेबल्स में. So 32 files बन जाएंगी दोनों टेबल्स में, and each file will have only particular stocks only. So let's say file 1 is handling hash keys from 1 से 100 तक. तो इसमें जो भी स्टॉक्स जिनको हैश की 1 से 100 आएगी वो सारे स्टॉक्स इस फाइल 1 में होंगे. जो भी स्टॉक्स जिनकी हैश की लेट्स से 101 से 500 तक की होगी वो फाइल 2 में होंगे, एंड सो एंड सो. So there will be 32 files created inside each and every date, and when I'll do a where clause, stock yeah, trade dot stock is equals to dividend dot stock. So मेरी जो ज्वाइनिंग होगी वो केवल इस फाइल की इस फाइल से होगी, फाइल 1 की फाइल 2 से, फाइल 2 की फाइल 2 से, फाइल 3 की फाइल 3 से. सो मेरा जो मर्ज होगा वो बहुत फास्ट चलेगा एज कंपेयर टू प्रीवियसली जो मैं 200 जीबी के डेटा को 10 जीबी से मर्ज करता फॉर सिंगल डे. So that is where a bucketing
सर
concept works up.
repeat करो.
But when you're joining two tables which are bucketed up, let's ensure that the data is bucketed on same column. And if you are bucketing this data on 32 buckets, the buckets in this table should be factorial or multiple, not factorial, sorry, multiple of this figure only. So this could be 8, this could be 32, this could be 64, but that cannot be 5.
Okay. And you just arrived at 32 number, right? There's no logic to it, correct?
No logic. That will depend on the data size. Again, अगर 200 जीबी का डेटा है तो मेरे को किस मेरे मैपर की साइज क्या है, मेरे कंटेनर की साइज बेसिकली क्या है, एक कंटेनर में मेरे को कितना डेटा रखना है. सो बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू विल फिगर आउट कि मेरे को कितने लेवल पे बकेट करना है. डेटा साइज, कंटेनर साइज, सीपीयू कितना यूजर, बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू विल फिगर आउट कि कितने बकेट
मिराज एक
करना
बार ये रिपीट करना.
है. ओके
हेलो.
ओके, या श्योर, आई विल रिपीट इट, श्योर श्योर.
मुझे समझ आ गया कि भाई मतलब हमारे एक तरह से जैसे हमें
सो लेट्स से मेरी
समझ आ
क्वेरी
गया
है, सम क्वेरी समथिंग लाइक दिस. Select star from trade inner join di vid anti dividend on t dot stock is equals to d dot where t dot date, let's say year, is equals to 2014 and t dot month, ईयर पे चला रहे हैं, लॉट से एक पूरे ईयर के डेटा पे चला रहे हैं, ठीक है. एंड डी डॉट ईयर, अरे डी में तो हमने वैसे पार्टीशन करने रखी. लेट्स से दिस माय क्वेरी. अब जब मैं टी डॉट ईयर 2014 ले रहा हूं तो मेरा ये वाला जो पूरा ईयर है दिस विल बी कंसीडर्ड अप, एंड आई विल बी लुकिंग एट द डेटा साइज ऑफ 200 into 365 approximately, so that is 73,000 GB data. Okay, so that's approximately equivalent to 71 petabytes of data. मैं 71 पेंटाबाइट ऑफ डेटा को लूप करूंगा 10 जीबी डेटा पे हर बार. यू कैन थिंक ऑफ कितनी कॉम्प्लेक्स डेटा प्रोसेसिंग होगी. सो व्हाट आई डू इज I divide my data in each partition on the files. So इससे क्या होगा कि मेरा F1 जो होगा हर डेट के, so F1 is approximately is your on each day it's approximately is your is equals to 200 divided by 32 buckets हैं, so approximately 6.25. and पूरे साल का अगर मैं हर डे का निकालूंगा that will be approximately this into 365 divided by 1024. सो 2 पेंटाबाइट, सो 2 पेंटाबाइट डेटा प्रोसेस होगा इसके 10 डिवाइडेड बाय 32 से 0.30 GB से. सो यू कैन थिंक ऑफ ज्वाइन कितना कितना सिंपल हो जाएगा एज कम्पेयर टू 71 पेंटाबाइट आपके 10 जीबी से मर्ज करना पड़ेगा मुझे. So that's the beauty which I get with the bucketing of my data. Does that make sense? Or shall I re-explain it?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Got it? Or still not able to figure it out? Hello?
Yeah, Miraj, I'm good, Shekhar.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Prabjeet because he asked the question. He is not clear.
Yeah. Miraj, ये जो F1 से लेके F32, so this is a random distribution
Yeah, this will
or
be a this will be distributed based on hash keys. So these are hash keys.
okay. 1 से 100.
So एक फाइल एक पर्टिकुलर रेंज ऑफ हैश कीज से एसोसिएटेड होगी. सो जब ये वाली फाइल 0 1 से 100 होगी, सेम हैश फंक्शन जहाँ पे भी यूज होगा, तो ये वाला F1 जो है वो इस F1 से ही ज्वाइन होगा, और ये वाला जो F2 है
Okay.
ये इस F2 से ही ज्वाइन होगा.
Okay. So ये जो F1 और F2 है, so basically जो where clause में हमारी जो condition
वेयर
है
क्लॉज में कुछ
उसके
चेंज होगा, वो
base
हाइव इंटरनली देखेगा. डेट टेबल पार्टीशन ने
नहीं वही राइट कि इंटरनली जो हमने किया है टी डॉट स्टॉक इक्वल टू
मेरी
टी
क्वेरी
डॉट
एक ही
स्टॉक
रहेगी.
इसके ओके इसके बेसिस पे वो की बना के इंटरनली पार्टीशन कर देता होगा राइट.
हाइव कुछ नहीं करेगा भाई आपके लिए. हाइव डेटा
नहीं
को
वो
कभी नहीं
जावा का
छेड़ेगा.
फीचर.
व्हेन यू आर क्रिएटिंग अ टेबल, इट्स योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि आपका डेटा उस फॉर्मेट में हो. व्हेन यू आर रनिंग अ क्वेरी, हाइव अज्यूम डेटा उस फॉर्मेट में है, क्वेरी रन करेगा, तो क्वेरी ऑप्टिमाइजली रन करेगा. सो जब मैंने कहा था टेबल क्रिएट करी थी, जब मैंने कहा था ये दोनों टेबल बकेटेड हैं ऑन स्टॉक. सो जब मैं क्वेरी रन कर रहा हूँ, हाइव अज्यूम करेगा कि ये दोनों टेबल बकेटेड हैं, बकेट की इंफॉर्मेशन लेगा इन टेबल से. दोनों टेबल 32 बकेट्स में है, सो हर टेबल की वो वाली बकेट उठा के उसकी वाली बकेट से ज्वाइन करेगा. क्वेरी दोनों सिनेरियो में सेम होगी, चाहे ये टेबल बकेट हो चाहे ना हो, क्वेरी यही रहेगी. बट जब मैं इन टेबल को बकेट करके क्वेरी चलाऊंगा, तो क्वेरी का प्रोसेसिंग टाइम विल बी ड्रास्टिकली रिड्यूस टू फ्यू मिनट्स और फ्रॉम फ्यू आवर्स इफ द टेबल इज नॉट बकेटेड.
ओके तो बकेटेड वाला है वो मतलब इंटरनली हाइव देखता है या
वो
हमें
हमें
देखना
हमारी
पड़ेगा.
डेटा इंसर्ट करना बकेट के अंदर हमारी रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि डेटा उस तरह से 25 फाइल में पड़ा हो, दैट इज आवर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. बट व्हेन आई एम डूइंग अ सेलेक्ट, देन इट्स हायर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू इंश्योर कि वो क्वेरी को ऑप्टिमाइज करके ज्वाइन करे. और व्हेन आई रनिंग दिस क्वेरी सेलेक्ट स्टार वेयर क्लॉज के साथ, तो हाइव की रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो बकेट को प्रॉपर्ली यूज करे. बट जब मेरे को इस टेबल में डेटा डालना है ट्रेड में, डिविडेंड में, तो मेरी रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो 32 फाइल में डेटा जाए.
कैन यू शो सम एग्जांपल ऑफ द फाइल्स.
हाँ, विल शो इट. जैसे मैं पार्टीशन का देखा था, आई विल शो यू द बकेट आल्सो. So let's say we create a bucket table. Cat. Okay, so this is a table clustered by symbol into four buckets. So मैं वो stock वाली table को ही cluster कर रहा हूँ 4 buckets के अंदर. Not stock table. I'm basically creating new table only, and that is bucketed. So table में column वही है. क्या हुआ? What happened? Nothing. So the table is created, cluster table, and the table is bucketed on symbol. Symbol is a column. Table is bucketed onto symbol into 4 buckets. So there will be 4 files, and each file will be containing some particular stocks only. Okay, but अभी ये table खाली है. अभी इस table में कुछ नहीं होगा. क्या लोकेशन है भाई? क्लस्टर्ड टेबल तो बन गई है, फोल्डर का नहीं दिख रहा है। क्लस्टर टेबल एरिया, सो फोल्डर खाली है। ठीक है, नाउ इट्स आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि इस टेबल में अगर मैं डेटा पढ़ा है तो वो 4 फाइल्स में पढ़ा हो। So one way is I can cluster the data and put it, but वो तो we can't do it manually. Who will do it? So another way is the way we partition it, the similar way, similar thing we'll use for bucket the data. So what we'll do is I will insert into table and select from stocks table. So मैं क्या कर, यार ये मेरा राइट क्लिक 2 बार क्यों चल रहा है? So what I'm doing is I'm inserting into the cluster table which I've created over here, हाँ, and selected from this table. So मैंने एक raw data पे एक टेबल बनाई, उसके अंदर से डेटा सेलेक्ट करा और इंसर्ट इनटू डिसेबल कर दिया। तो अब मैं जब इंसर्ट करूंगा, अभी हाइव की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि इसको 4 बकेट में डिवाइड करे, बिकॉज मैं हाइव से कह रहा हूँ वो इंसर्ट करे, rather than I am manually putting the data or files into this table. So when the data is created, you will see there are 4 files in this table. Each file will have a range of symbols or range of stock symbols. So when I'll join this stocks table, clustered stocks table with our dividend, with the dividend table, the corresponding file will be merged with the corresponding file of the dividend table. So the joins will be very fast. बड़ा स्लो हो गया। You can see this time reducer phase ends up. This reducer phase is basically clustering the data into 4 buckets. So now if I see over here, 4 files, each file will have range of, so this has all the Reliance symbols. This has SBI, वो डेटा ज्यादा वैरायटी में नहीं था इसलिए। So this is sale and BHEL. Got it, प्रभजीत, समझ में आया?
हाँ जी, ये हमने पैरामीटर कहाँ डिफाइन किया था कि फर्स्ट कॉलम के बेसिस पे एक बार क्वेरी में। अच्छा ठीक है, बाय सिंबल, ओके, वो मैंने मिस दैट सिंबल।
Okay, so this is a pretty interesting thing. Buckets. So there are the 2 major things by which you can divide and rule the data. One is the partitioning and one is the bucketing. These are 2 majorly used concept in Hive also. When you are creating your tables, you will always be clustering your data as well as partitioning your data to divide and rule your data so that your queries run faster. So Hive के इंटरव्यू में जाओगे, ये सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन ये कोई भी यही पूछेगा, bucketing क्या होती है और partitioning क्या होती है. So there's nothing much left. ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं बचा है. There's nothing great left. It will take 10-15 minutes only. We can take a quick break, and then in the meantime, in the break, I'll also share a problem statement of Hive with you. So today I want you to run that thing and try to do it in the class only. So we'll take a 10 minutes break, and in the meantime, I'll also share a problem statement with you. The other next slides will not take more than 10-15 minutes. ठीक है? And Shekhar, you are using the wrong port. Rather than 22, you have to use 2222. So that's the reason you will not able to connect.
No, if you look into the email, I used port 2222, but in error statement it is saying 22 cannot be connected. So I gave it a command. In that command, I have used -2222 -p 2222.
कमांड मैंने उस दिन पिंग करी थी, वो यूज करिए.
It's the same command, yes.
You have not sent me the command. You have just sent me the error after. Just see. Shekhar. SSH connect host. Why you are giving map reduce jar name? Why you are giving the jar?
That's the jar we want to, like,
SCP is just an SCP connection. Either you want to move the jar to that. Achha.
To Hue folder, yeah.
Let's see, let's copy this. SCP में P बड़ा तो नहीं आता, ये माइनस P बड़ा तो नहीं आता. SCP देखना, SCP में शायद बड़ा आता होगा. SCP हेल्प करके माइनस P बड़ा तो नहीं आता. SCP minus HELP. माइनस P बड़ा होगा यार, छोटा नहीं होता वो. पोर्ट का P बड़ा होता है.
एक मिनट देखता हूँ.
हाँ बड़ा ही होता है, मैंने देख लिया. ह्यू का मुझे लगता है तुम्हारा ह्यू शायद चालू नहीं हुआ है. एक बार मशीन को रिस्टार्ट कर लो, या फिर स्लैश etc/inetd के अंदर आपका वो पड़ा होगा. ह्यू किससे चलता है? राइट. ह्यू किससे चलता है?
एक्चुअली ना मैंने आपको कल एक एरर भेजा था, राइट? जो मेरा मशीन
हाँ वही बता रहा हूँ.
so I tried restart.
उसके लिए व्हाट यू डू इज इधर रीस्टार्ट योर मशीन. आपके साथ ह्यू रिस्टार्ट नहीं हुआ, या फिर व्हाट यू कैन डू इज जस्ट गो टू /etc/inetd. etc/inetd में जाओ एंड ह्यू की कमांड क्या होती है यार? ह्यू अभी परसों तो चालू करा तो मेरे भी बंद हो गया था. ह्यू ही होगा, ह्यू होगा वहां पे. /etc/inetd में एक ह्यू होगा, ह्यू HU. उसके आगे स्टेटस लिख के देखो, इज इट रनिंग?
Okay, I'll check it.
Give this command. I'm pinging you on the chat window. And if it's running, you can just say ये करके देख लेते हैं. ठीक है,
मैं ट्राई करता हूँ.
ओके. एंड वो -P बढ़ा देना.
वो भी कर लेता हूँ.
ओके. और वो जार बन गई या अभी भी नहीं बनी?
नहीं, जार बन गई. एक्चुअली क्या हुआ, कल वो when it was waiting there, after that it was okay. So after that it was waiting, then it again did a build failure. So I didn't know if it was network timed out. So again I tried to run it, and then it ran successfully. So the jar part is completed.
Okay.
And I tried this -P.
Okay.
And it worked, but it says now that user//hu is no such file or directory.
So user इसमें USER है यार, वो user की स्पेलिंग सही कर लो. वो ह्यू के अंदर जो यूजर है वो USER है.
वो USER ही है. USER ही दिया हुआ है ना.
USER दिया हुआ है.
This is what I ran.
USER दिया है, USR दिया है. Slash USER slash HUE slash USER slash HUE. अरे सर जी, ये आप यूनिक्स में कॉपी कर रहे हो, एसडीएफएस में कॉपी नहीं कर रहे हो. तो यहाँ पे एसडीएफएस में यूनिक्स में यूजर यूजर नहीं होगा. यूनिक्स में तो आपका वो होगा यूएसआर. यूनिक्स में यूजर होगा, यूएसआर होगा.
एक मिनट में चेक कर लेता हूँ.
यूएसआर स्लैश यहाँ पे कॉपी कर लो, यूजर लिब व्यू में कर लो.
हाँ एक
यहाँ पे कॉपी कर लो इसको.
USR/lib/view, right?
हाँ, इसमें कॉपी कर लो.
Okay.
ओके. सो
USR/view.
जस्ट ट्राई इट आउट, वो चल जाएगा. ठीक है. तो इट्स 12:33 हो रहे. 12:45 पे मिलते हैं. चला के देख लो, चल जाएगा.
Yes, चल गया वो. तो वो डायरेक्टली गलत थी. तो एक तो ये हो गया.
Hi, I'm back. Are you there? Are you back?
Miraj, I'm back.
Okay. Shikhar, are you back? Shikhar, you there? कहाँ गया ये? Shikhar, you back?
Miraj, this is Shekhar. I'm back. Yes,
Oh,
I'm back.
okay. So I've shared one problem statement of high wage people. You can go with that, and I'll just cover up the rest remaining slide prior to that. Okay. So this is basically we talked about bucketing, and prior to that we talked about partitioning. So you can also alter the table. You can archive the partitions like this thing. So HAR is Hadoop archive. So if you remember, I told you in the first class that Hadoop is an ecosystem where you should have bigger files rather than large number of smaller files, large number of small size files. So HAR will basically do not compress your data. So what it'll do is it's just create a single file out of your many files. The data will not be practically compressed. So HAR files are Hadoop archive files. So you can create archive files on your partitions. You can also, enable partition. Mm, where's my mouse gone? Where's my mouse gone? So you can enable not drop. So this will ensure that this partition cannot be dropped. You can enable offline. So if you make your partitions offline in such a scenario that those partitions will not be considered in your where clauses, you can enable again online them, or basically so in such a scenario basically the older data would lying in your SDFS, but that is not coming to your where clauses. So people might be running where clauses currently on our tables. You want to offline the older partition, 3 years old partition or 2 year old partition, so you can offline them. Loading data.
So enable enable offline means that it will not be queried against.
Yeah,
That
so
column should not be
that
queried against.
that data would that data, so data related to those partitions will not come in your queries.
Okay.
However, the data is lying into SGFS. So load data local in path, overhead into table employees partition by. So basically, when your data is lying somewhere in your SDFS or somewhere in your Unix file system, you might load that data into your table. So load data local in path is a command to load your data. So what I'm doing is load data local in path. So this is a directory from where the data is lying up, and I am overwriting into the table employees and for a particular partition. So let's say the data in this folder, California employees just contain the employees of California. So I'm overwriting that to just single partition of the table, which is country is equals to US and state is equals to California. So there are two ways to load the data into the table. One is load data local in path and one is without local. So there are two things: load data local in path and one is without local, load data in path. So the difference between load data local in path and load data in path is that load data local copies the local data to the final location in the distributed file system, while load data in path, that is without the local keyword, move the data from one location in HDFS to another location in HDFS. लोकल मतलब आप अपने यूनिक्स के किसी फोल्डर पाथ दे रहे हो, यहाँ पे अगर मैं लोकल लिखा हुआ है तो ये कोई यूनिक्स का फोल्डर पाथ है, अगर मैंने यहाँ पे लोकल नहीं लिखा हुआ तो ये कोई एचडीएफएस का पाथ है जो कि दूसरे एचडीएफएस के पाथ में डाल रहा है. And overwrite will overwrite this data into will, without overwrite keyword, will just append the data into this directory or into this partition or into this table. Insert override
Okay.
table partition. So here we are basically selecting from some other table and inserting into some other table, and for a particular partition we ran this query few minutes back, and we basically did it, instead of US we did change the date to 2012 and we selected for 2010. So this is what we can all do. So basically there are, so this is static partitioning. So I am giving partitioned hard coded, that is statically. I can also tell Hive to dynamically find out which partition load the data into. So rather than giving country is equals to AU and state is equals to CA, I am assuming the output of this query, एंड जो इसका कंट्री आएगा स्टेट आएगा वो इसके टेबल में चले जाए, जैसे कि हमने अभी वो ट्रेड डेट वाली टेबल बनाई थी. तो दैट इज कॉल्ड डायनेमिक पार्टीशनिंग. सो इफ यू रिमेंबर उसके अंदर मैंने ऊपर डायनेमिक पार्टीशन मोड इनेबल करा था. So that is what I was trying to do. So dynamic partition also is by default disabled in the Hive. So if you remember in that query, what I did is, and I told you मैं आपको बाद में बताऊंगा, cat uh, so where is that thing? So I ran this thing, set dynamic partitioning non-strict to load the data. अगर वो dynamic partitioning by default strict होती है तो यहाँ पे जब मैं when I'll run this query, this will give me an error because it cannot figure out the trade date value from this select, because dynamic partition non-stick was non-stick मतलब यहाँ पे मेरे को trade date equals to trade date जिसमें डालना है वो यहाँ पे वैल्यू देनी पड़ेगी. तो मेरे को इसको नॉन स्टिक करके देन ओनली दिस क्वेरी विल रन. अदरवाइज यहाँ पे मेरे को स्टैटिक पार्टीशनिंग देने की पड़ेगी, समथिंग लाइक दिस, country is equals to US, state equals to OR. So this is the difference between static and dynamic partitioning. Does these things making sense to you, or I'm going very fast, or these things are?
I think conceptually understanding it, we'll have to definitely come back and review it.
Yeah, of course that you have to. Okay. So this is a query which is a mix of static and dynamic partitioning. So country static है, but state मैं dynamically figure out करूंगा जो कि states यहाँ से आएंगी. So we can use a mix and match of both the things. So this is what I did over there. Dynamic partition को मैं true करा था, non-stick करा था. So वो ही हमने करा था पहले, डायनेमिक टेबल क्रिएशन करके उसमें डेटा लोड करा था, वो यहाँ पे भी कर रहा हूँ मैं. So this is how you run your queries. वो another way of writing it, from करके मैं लिख सकता हूँ मैं, but practically you can just write a selector. वो उल्टा भी लिख सकते हो, from ऊपर भी लिख सकते हो. Just a way to write it. Case, like similar to your SQL words, you can give case this, when this, case this, when this, case this, when this, and as column name. You are aware of SQL, so I'll just quickly browse through these slides. Group by having clause, group by having clause, all same to your SQL word. So just be slide पे you want me to explain it, do let me know. I'll quickly browse through these things because all of them are SQL syntaxes, nothing new. Joins, from, inner join, outer join, left outer, right outer. Do you want me to explain any of them? Inner join, outer join, left outer, inner full outer join, any of those things? Silence, I assume as no. Okay, so let's talk about some of the optimization what you can do on join. However, there are a lot of optimization you can do, but these are some of the basic ones which I'll cover over there. Other things I normally cover in the advanced Hadoop sessions, which are not intended right now for you. So when you are joining two tables, so here what I'm doing is I'm joining a table stocks with uh, stocks. Okay, this is the comment. Oh, so from big table join a small table. So rather than giving this, you should give from a small table and join big table. So what will happen is basically ये जो data है आपका somewhat is read in memory and that is looped on the bigger table. So Hive assumes कि जो आप from पहले दे रहे हो that is a small table and that is loaded into memory. Or you can give hint to. यहाँ पे आप दे सकते हो this is a streamer table. So आप you can give the bigger table first also and then in that case you can just give a hint like this. So these are the few of the things like you're like you remember your SQL word uh, for optimization. Similar way you can do a lot of optimization on the queries when you are writing up the queries. Left outer, right outer joins. Functions. So you can create your own functions, user defined functions, what we call them UDFs. You can create your UDFs. So by default, there are a lot of functions inside in Hive. You can just say show functions. So another way to run any of the Hive query is, I told you Hive -F. I've told you you can just type Hive and press enter. That will take you to Hive console. Third way to run any of the Hive query is you can just say Hive -E and give the query show functi functions. So this is a Hive query which I'm right now running up. So this will go to the Hive console, get the result for you and print it on this Unix box. So I'm not going to the Hive console. I'm not giving any file input. I can just say Hive -E. So this will show me all the functions in the Hive. So there are a lot of functions, user functions. And other than that, you can create your own user defined functions. So you can create your user defined function. You can compile that as a jar and you can just add that jar and give the function name. I'll show you how to do that. You can write functions in Java as well as other languages also. So see, there are a lot of functions. Substring, date, xbar, noah, field. There are a lot of functions which are already there for you. So you can just say describe function that will describe the function for you. And describe extender will give some more information about the function and detail information. So by the time the output of this queries are coming up, there are a lot of functions, mathematical functions, string functions, date functions, condition functions, string built-in. You can also create your own functions, what we call as UDFs in this word, user-defined functions. So see, it gave returns function information. So UTR will accept a string as an input parameter and returns all the characters in uppercase. So to create a function, what you have to do is you can just give create function, your function name as your class name of the Java and from which jar file you want to create it. So for example, this is your Java file which you have created up. So to create any of your UDF, you have to extend a UDF of Hive. So this is an this is the interface which you have to extend, and you have to implement evaluate as a function. So आप अपनी क्लास बनाओगे, उसके अंदर इस UDF को एक्सटेंड करोगे, evaluate फंक्शन में अपना कोड लिखोगे, इसके अंदर जो आपको पैरामीटर लेने हैं वो लोगे, and you will return something. You will compile it, create a jar out of it. You have to add that jar to the Hive uh, basically add that jar to the Hive uh, session. Then you have to create function temporary. You can want to create it temporary. That is an optional parameter. Create function, your function name as your fully qualified class name. ये जो आपने क्लास बनाई थी, so fully qualified class name. Create function, function name, and class name. So that will call and evaluate of this class. And then you can just use select hello world. मैंने function का नाम दिया था, name from this link. So that will call the function on your table. So अगर यहाँ पे मैं देता हूँ select UPPVR upper, अभी जैसे हमने देखा था, so upper symbol from cluster, so that will just give me all the symbols in uppercase. You can write your UDFs in any other language other than Java also, and you have to just create the jar, and similar way you have to add them. So I have shared the Java code with you. There are few of the UDFs already created. I'll show you that code also. Indexing. All the Hive support concept of indexing, but do not try to use it. That is a waste of time, or I won't say that is a waste of time exactly, but that will not give you that much benefit, because you have to manually maintain the indexes. You have to recreate the indexes whenever you insert the data, and practically I have not seen much of the benefits of creating index. But as the concept of index is there, I'll explain you the concept of index. So similar to your indexes in your SQL Word, you can create indexes over here. So indexes are stored in a separate Hive table, which will be just the index and the corresponding pointer in the table. So to create an index, so this is a table on which I am creating an index. So I say create index name on table and employee. On the country is a column on which I want to create index. This is a Java file which I want to use for index. So with deferred rebuild means that index will be created when I will say, rather than created it right now, and some of the index properties. And how to trigger the index, sorry. And whenever I'll do a query on this table, my index will be considered if the table is indexed. But practically I have not seen indexes give much more benefit, because maintenance of an index is more overhead as compared to the benefit which you got out of index. You can use partitioning and bucketing in a if you practically use partitioning, bucketing, and proper file formats and compression, you can and you basically optimize your queries. You can run your queries much faster rather than using indexes on the tables. So see that output of the table would have come. All the symbols are in uppercase. वैसे वो शायद डेटा में भी upper ही थे, but practically it has converted to uppercase. So any questions? Anything which you want to ask up?
I'm good. No.
Okay, so I've shared the PPT right now with you in the Google Drive. I also shared a problem statement with you. Can you people try to open it and try to run it up? We have still half an hour kind of thing left, or at least 20 minutes left. Or do you want to try it later on?
Let's understand the problem statement and then see where we can go.
Sure, sure. Just try to open it and try to read it out and try to figure it out.
Understand.
Prabhajit, you are also there with me, right?
Yes. Okay.
So this is a pretty easy one I've shared with you people.
This project.
जितने भी कोड भी मैंने अभी चलाए थे those are also all shared with you in the code folder only. If you go inside the code folder, there's a high folder. So all these code which are right now ran for partitioning, bucketing, insert into, insert override, all those things, those are all shared with you in the same code folder.